My name is Nickel, Nickel, and these are 5 weird facts about Undertale. If you haven't checked out the other weird facts videos on this channel, don't forget to check those out as well. Let's kick it off with number 1. There's an item called steak in the shape of Mettaton's face that is sold at the MTT Burger Brand Emporium. If you eat this steak during Mettaton EX's fight, you'll receive 700 rating points. Normally, when you're in an encounter, the steak in the shape of Mettaton's face will be shortened down to just face steak when looking at it in your inventory. But if the fallen child is named Drac, Gugu, or Gigi, it will be shortened down to just F steak instead, which is a direct reference to the Persona 4 comic by Gigi DG, who is also the same creator behind Cucumber Quest. Naming the fallen child other things will lead to other specific responses from the game, which I'll show you now. When you start a new game of Undertale, you'll of course be able to name the fallen child. There are at least 8 names that you aren't allowed to choose, and if you do try to choose them, they won't allow you to proceed, but will instead give you a message based on who you typed in. The 8 names are 8 of the major characters with the exception of Gaster, as in WD Gaster. Here's how the game responds for attempting to use the names of these characters. Typing in Toriel's name gives you the response, "I think you should think of your own name, my child." Azrael simply gives you 3 dots. Flowey says, "I've already chose that name," with the chose appearing in capital letters. Typing in Asgore will give you the response, "You cannot." Undyne will respond with, "Get your own name." Alphys will say, "Don't do that," in typical Alphys fashion. Typing in Gaster will actually just reload the intro sequence without even asking you to confirm. And entering Sans will just leave you with the simple response, "Nope." There are even more names that will give you unique responses, but they don't prevent you from selecting them to use. Examples include Temmie, Meta, AAAAA, and many more. Some of those names are actually slight variations of main character names. If you were to choose Papyru instead of Papyrus because you can't even fit Papyrus, the response will say, "I'll allow it." Or if you use Alfie, it'll say, okay. And if you enter the name Frisk, you will activate hard mode. There are a plethora of secrets in Undertale itself, but if you begin to look through the game's files, you'll find an unused audio track titled ABC123A.OGG, which contains different variations of text-to-speech audio. It's a message to those who are trying to pick apart the game in order to find secrets. Take a listen.
Hello, have some respect and don't spoil the game.
It's impossible to have mysteries nowadays.
Because of nosy people like you.
Please keep all of this between us.
If you post it online, I won't make any more secrets. No one will be impressed. It will be your fault.
There is also a message in the game's files that asks a player not to rip sprites from the game. It says, "Please don't upload these huge sprite sheets online. Just cause most weird things here are used, I'd rather them be seen in context first. Wait like a year first. If you're just ripping normally seen sprites for Spriter's resource or something, I don't care if you use these to make it easier though." Both of these things make it quite apparent that there was quite the forethought put into what would happen to the game upon its release. According to a forum post made by Undertale creator Toby Fox back in 2012, the game was originally meant to be a sequel to an Earthbound ROM hack titled Underbound. This project was to be named Underbound 2. Fox's post was made in response to a thread from someone who was working on a game titled Underground. Before I go any further with this, yes, this thread is a joke, but there's still some insight to be found in the form of developmental thoughts and images from what would eventually become Undertale, despite being presented in a response to a joke thread. The images shown earlier in the thread from the original poster are taken from the ROM hacks Stomping Ground, Unearthed, and the Mother remake. In Fox's post, he says, "Because now that Coil Snake exists, I finally feel comfortable in making Underbound 2, which is not only a direct sequel to the events in Underbound 1, but also a spiritual successor to Freebound. If you don't know, Coil Snake is a mod-making tool for Earthbound. Right below that is the image of a character that would eventually become Froggit, but here it's titled Test Monster and its Cohorts. When referring to the image of Flowey, he wrote, "A friendly flower. He will help you many times along your journey." Actually, the reincarnation of Face from the original Underbound. When referring to the image of the fallen child, he says, young androgynous person who falls into the underground and must use the power of love to save the world. Step cousin of Squeezo from the original Underbound. There's no magical planet healing music in the sequel, but something tragic happens to your mom at least. Towards the end of the post, he says, I'm programming the new battle system in CC Script, and boy, things are way easier than they used to be. Fox has previously stated that the battle system was the first thing that he created when developing Undertale. If it's true that there never was an Underbound 1, it's just a continuation of a long joke, then Undertale began as a sequel to a game that never even existed. Or at the very least, it was an odd debut to what would eventually become a pretty odd game. During an interview on a Twitch livestream that normally focuses on Super Smash Bros. Melee, Toby Fox was interviewed and asked about Undertale. One of the questions was whether people were deriving their own meaning from his game, and he responded by saying, "There are some times when people ascribe things to me that I didn't intend. But I feel like when they do that, that's what I wanted. I wanted to create something where people wouldn't know what was intended and what wasn't. And they could keep going deeper and think, whoa, this just keeps going deeper, forever. So it's kind of validating when people do that. It's only bad when they read into it and they get something weird out of it." When he was asked what he meant by something weird, he said, "There are some people who are trying to find every secret in the game, so they put stuff into spectrograms and say, look at this guys, it looks like a smiley face, there's a message here. Literally every file you put there is going to have a smiley face if it's just static noise." Regarding why he decided to make the game the length that it is when discussing its development, he also said, "I like the idea of making an RPG where you could play all the good parts and be done." The final fact is that leaving a like on this video usually fills most people with determination, but sometimes it will fill you with something random. Leave a comment down below with what the like button filled you with, and I'll post the best comments on my Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't seen Weird Facts Star Wars or Weird Facts One Punch Man, make sure to check them out. Regardless if you're on mobile or PC, you can get linked directly to other videos on the channel by hitting the I button in the corner of the screen. Here's a little preview of the previous video on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Series creator 1 has been drawing manga since he was in grade school, but never showed anyone his work or even told anyone about it his entire school life. He said that while everyone else was into soccer or video games, he was afraid that he would seem uncool if he drew manga. Even though he had friends that read manga, he never actually